Hey, it's the Empire. Don't forget to hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon for more videos. We taking over. Let's go, champ. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button right now. Let's go. Hey, it's the Empire. Geoboxing Empire. Backstore Boxing. Now, man, Chris Eubank, man, this is a prediction video for Chris Eubank, George Groves, man. And I'm going to tell you why Chris Eubank should win this fight, man. Now, if you look at Chris Eubank, man, you look at his hallmark, his signature, it's really advanced, right? He's a complete athlete in the ring. He's calm when he wants to be. He's aggressive when he wants to be. He has he has a lot of dimensions to his game. Now, let's talk about Chris Eubank's style and why it'll give George Groves a problem. Now, if you guys didn't know, I think the biggest fight in George Groves' career was the Carl Froch versus George Groves fight. Sold out 80,000 tickets. It was George Groves' biggest fight as well, and it was a big fight. Now, Groves was actually dominating that fight until he let up in that fight. Now, what Groves messed up in that fight that Chris Eubank is the master of is aggression. Chris Eubank, when he wants to be aggressive with you, there's really no stopping Chris Eubank Jr. The only how you'll beat Chris Eubank Jr. is if you box him on the outside. And George Groves, he has this masculinity about him that he wants to fight. He wants to prove a point. He'll be beating you too, and George Groves beating you isn't enough. He'll want to stop you. So that being said, I see a firefight between Chris Eubank and George Groves a majority of the fight, right? Chris Eubank will most likely make it a war with George Groves. He's gonna have to prove a point, right? Chris Eubank is the contender. He's fighting George Groves, and George Groves is the world champion. You know what they say, even if you don't agree with it, they say you gotta take the belt from the champion. You gotta take it from him. And the only way they take it from George Groves is to knock him out. Chris Eubank Jr. is gonna be hyper aggressive in this fight, and Chris Eubank Jr. man, he's gonna come bring it. To match Chris Eubank's volume in the ring is highly hard. It's highly unlikely, right? To keep up with Chris Eubank Jr. And if you're not used to fighting by throwing a lot of punches, you're gonna use more energy than you're gonna have to, right? Think about this, right? If you're fighting a guy who throws like 100 punches around, if you're a counter puncher, let's say you're a counter puncher, you're a boxer, and you're used to throwing like 70 punches around. If you try to match that guy 100 punches around, the chances are you're gonna gash yourself out quicker than what the other guy is used to throwing 100 punches around, because he's used to doing it. So if you try to fight his fight, you're gonna lose it, right? You're gonna lose it because it's not your style, right? There's a saying in boxing that you don't fight your opponent's fight. And Chris Eubank's fight is an aggressive, high-paced war. That's his style, So George Groves, when he fought Carl Froch, man, he ended up making it a war. He was standing toe-to-toe too much. He was winning that fight. He could have cruised a couple rounds, and instead, he was trying to prove himself. And Carl Froch is known to have a chin and is known for brawling in the inside and having a chin and fighting it out. That's what Carl Froch is known for. George Groves is going to try to prove the same point with Chris Eubank Jr. George Groves doesn't throw enough punches. He's too slow, and he doesn't have that diversity of throwing as many punches and setting his punches the right way as a Chris Eubank does, right? Now, if you guys watched the George Groves' last fight when he fought Jamie Cox was really aggressive, and he was actually hitting George Groves with a lot of shots. He was actually countering him a lot until he got stopped with the body shot. So even George Groves, even when he ended up knocking the guy out, in the end, he was getting hit a lot. And the guy was teeing off. He basically stood there and went toe-to-toe with Jamie Cox. If he tries to do the same thing with Chris Eubank Jr., Chris Eubank Jr. is going to knock the guy out in spectacular fashion. So that's how I see the fight, man. I see Chris Eubank just bullying George Groves, and I see George Groves trying to prove a point, right? The thing is, George Groves is a phenomenal fighter. I think the same fighter who fought Carl Froch probably would have beat Chris Eubank because he was fresher at the time, he was younger at the time, and he looked like he hit harder at the time. You know, uh, at this point, at this stage in George Groves' career, I don't think he's not as good as Chris Eubank Jr. I just think at this point in the career, Chris Eubank Jr. has gotten better to the point where he's more in his prime than George Groves at this stage in his career, right? Just think like this: you can have an older fighter who's a great fighter. I mean, George Groves is young; he's still in his 20s. But when you have an older fighter who's more experienced against a young, stronger fighter, sometimes the youth will beat the experience. I think in this case, the youth will overwhelm George Groves, man. I think the Chris Eubank Jr. will overwhelm him. I think he'll beat him. I'm not sure how he's going to beat him, right? But he'll most likely knock him out. And Chris Eubank Jr. throws so many punches. There's no way George Groves can win a decision. There's just no way possible. So that's my opinion, man. I think Chris Eubank will win his fight. I got him winning the fight. So that's how Chris Eubank will win his fight. So let me know how you guys feel about it. Like, comment, subscribe. This is the Empire. Geoboxing Empire. Peace.